All right, who wants something a little different? How about we make some crab cakes and some tuna cakes? So here's what you need. You need some crab meat. I've got the imitation kind, a little cheaper, and that's what I've got. A couple cans of tuna. So here we go. The first thing we're going to need is crumbs. So in this case, rather than using breadcrumbs, just get a sleeve of crackers and chop them up nice and fine so they're workable. Not hard to do, kind of fun. You know, it only takes a few minutes to actually crumble all these up, and then you've got something nice to work with. So in this case, the one sleeve was enough to do all the breading I needed to do for all the cakes. So here's the end product, and of course, looks like crumbled crackers, which is what it should be. So now we need the other ingredients, which is a couple stalks of celery. We'll give them a little wash, and then we'll chop them nice and fine. You don't want it very big because you're trying to make cakes out of it, and chunky just makes it harder to hold it all together. So we're going to chop everything down small like this. That's about what it should look like when you're done. And then we're going to put it in a bowl. All right, so the next thing we're going to do once we get these in a container is go on to our onion. So we're going to use probably about a half an onion. It seems about right. And they need to be cut up fairly fine, as you can see. You don't want them, once again, too chunky. Too chunky makes it harder to work with. Well, there's our end product. It looks really good. We're just going to put that in the same container because we're just going to mix it around, and that's going to be part of our filler for the crab meat. Well, actually, what I did do, and if you caught that, was half went into one container, half went into the other. That way, I'm pretty well using the same mix on both. You know, it's a combination of celery and onions and breadcrumbs, okay, and the meat. So we just mix that all together in a bowl, and by the time we're done, this will turn into something really nice and yummy for dinner. And don't forget to clean up your counter space as you go. You know, it just makes life a lot easier. So now we're back to getting the crab out of the bags, and you know, I don't know why I had such a hard time with that, bringing the heavy artillery and the scissors and that just to cut the bag open. For some reason, that imitation crab meat just didn't want to get out of the bags. But eventually we got it, one big chunk there. And the trick now is to peel it all apart so it's in usable pieces. It falls right apart, so it's not difficult to do. You know, a little time consuming, yeah, but you know, it's all worth it when it's done. So when it is done, it should look something like this. All nice and chunky and way to go. Now, I will tell you right now that the tuna was easier to work with. It wasn't nearly as chunky, but, you know, whatever. So here we are. I put the celery and onions that I had in the one container in, and my breadcrumbs. And now we're going to add a little bit of extra. So we put some mayo in, and we'll keep building it. So now to hold it all together, of course, you need a couple eggs, so we're going to throw that into the mix too. Don't forget to save your eggshells, it's good for the garden. And a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. I think I put about a tablespoon in, if memory serves me. Yep, there it is right there, just to give it a little boom. You want more, put more in. You want less, put less in. And of course, there's the Dijon mustard and a little bit of parsley. You know, why not? Makes it look a little greener. And of course, the ultimate salt and pepper, which, you know, ends to go in every dish. And of course, it's always to your taste. And now the fun part, we're going to get our hands in there and mix this all around. It's a little tricky because you got to combine the egg with all the dry ingredients, and it probably would have been easier had I mixed everything together before I threw the eggs in, so I'll remember that for next time. But at the end of the day, it still worked out. So what I did was I grabbed the mixture and made it into just over golf ball size balls, because I'm not going to mush them out into patties just yet. I'm going to do that when I fry them up. So once they're all done and into balls and laying on a cookie sheet, I'm going to work on the tuna now. Then we're going to fry both sets up at the same time. So I've drained the tuna as best I could out of the can, and I'll tell you that at the end of the day, the tuna was a lot wetter to work with than the crab meat. But you can add extra breadcrumbs if you want. You can, do what you need to do. So it's the same idea. We put the breadcrumbs in. We put onions, celery, Worcestershire, mayo, salt, pepper, and some mustard, and a couple eggs. Now, hopefully, after we're done mixing it around, you'll see the difference in how gooey it was. I should have used more breadcrumbs, I think. I still made it work. I mean, but it was so gooey. It was almost too hard to make the balls to make the tuna cakes with. And this time, rather than putting them and dirtying up another cookie sheet, I just tried to make the balls in the bowl. So now here's the mixture that we're going to coat both sets of cakes with. It's real simple. Some flour, some salt and pepper to taste. I threw a little paprika in. I mean, you want to put some garlic powder in, be my guest. You can make this mixture however you want. It's all up to you. So once we mixed it all up, we got to throw a little bit of oil in the pan just to give them a good grease. Now, when I was doing the tuna cakes, like I said, they were really mushy. So I thought if I added a little bit of cheese in, it might help out, at least firm it up a bit. And sure enough, it did. It made it so that it was much more workable. So I made the balls again, and as you see, there were 6 there. They don't make quite as much as the crab cakes, or at least size-wise. But you can take that into account. If 6 isn't going to be enough and you want to make more, crack open another can, do the same thing. Same thing with the crab cakes. You want more than what I made, crack open another bag. It's simple enough. So basically what we do is now we take the balls, and this is the crab cakes here. So what we did was we mixed it with the flour, okay, and threw each one in the frying pan. Now, flour does 2 things. It coats it, gives it a little coating, helps it get a little browner, and it makes it easier to handle while you're trying to form them into cakes. So here's my first batch. It's not super golden brown, but they still work. And, they smell good and they're appetizing. They really do look well. So it's like everything. For some reason, the first lift of anything never seems to work out as good as the next ones. The pan gets nice and hot. You get a little better at forming the patties. There's 101 different things that happen. But in the end, it all works out. And as long as it tastes good and you enjoy it, that's all that really matters. And once the crab cakes are done, we put them in the oven to keep them warm, just till we're done. It's on to the tuna cakes, which were a little gooier, so they needed a little extra flour to make them more pliable. But you know what? In the end, they're a little smaller, but they still held together really well. And we're just going to fry them up. Look at that, nice and golden brown. And we'll put them on a separate platter just so we can tell which is which. I mean, I know because I cooked them, but maybe you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You want to make sure in case someone has a preference as to tuna or crab cake, whatever. And there's our end result. Doesn't that look good? Crab cakes up front, tuna cakes in the back. Nothing left to do now but dig in. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this enjoyable and informative, and that you learned something. I know I did. If you've got a comment, leave it below. Give me a like. I'd sure appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, as always, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That'll tell you the next time I upload a video, usually once a week. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Bye for now. We'll see you next time.